Hey everybody, what's going on? Dace here. Today we are going to be touching on a few things, specifically how I went through all of Coromon, like from start to finish, with just my starter doing the fighting. I just beat this yesterday. It took me a little under 20 hours and was a super awesome experience. The game was very, very refreshing to jump into. I grew up with Pokemon. Not that I've played all the games over the years. I've played Red, Yellow, and Gold, and then I played Dragon Warrior Monsters, which in my opinion was even way better, way more to my liking back in the day when that came out. I've sampled some other monster taming games, which some I really enjoy, others I enjoyed, but not to the degree that I did. Things like Coromon or Monster Sanctuary, for instance. Those two are just absolutely incredible. So anyway, I want to share a little bit about how I came into approaching the game this way and just my thoughts on it. This is not by any means going to be a review or anything like that. It's just kind of like a casual chat about what I like and how I went about it. So what happened? I just want to touch on something first. I was playing Monster Crown before I jumped into Coromon, and what I did in Monster Crown was I got to the first boss when I started the game, so that's maybe 5-10 minutes into the game, and I got that monster, and I used that monster pretty much for like the whole thing, and a couple other monsters here or there, but there were mainly two monsters that I used. And so when I started Coromon, very quickly I realized, okay, my starting monster is at a certain level. When I get to a new area, monsters are not necessarily at that same level. And I thought, you know what, I really don't want to like train monsters, put time and energy into training monsters when I can just train my main one, because that's what's doing the most damage. And I just went from there. I said, you know what, I'm just going to stick with my main monster. That's going to be the only thing I use for fighting. And at the time I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to do the whole game like this. I was just being in the moment. And so very quickly that just continued and continued. And every time I got to a new area, the same thing. It's like, well, these monsters are cool, but there's so many levels below where I'm sitting at right now. And it's not that I was grinding for hours or anything. Just here and there I would, sure, grind out a few levels, just because I enjoy doing that kind of thing. But it just made more sense to focus all of my time and energy on my starting creature, who is, as you can see in the footage, in its final form. And so when I say I did the whole game, obviously there are a select few instances where you're forced to use other monsters. And there's one other situation where, well, I might as well just get into the first things first. So my first roadblock was when you get to I think the first Titan on Donor Island, the one, I forget what the element is, but in any event, when you're at the top of the tower, I think it's like a lightning one or something. That one was tough. I found when I initially went there that I couldn't do it. Like I was getting toasted. And obviously because my creature is weak to lightning. And so what I did at that time, I was thinking, okay, I might as well go get a creature that can withstand this boss. So even at this point, I was thinking, okay, I'll use another monster. But what happened was I think I went up level like 4 or 5 levels, and then I thought to myself, you know what, I might actually even be strong enough. I have a little more HP, a little more defense, all this stuff. I might actually be able to do it now. So I jumped in and I brought the boss down with no issue. So this said to me, okay, do I really need to think about or care about this whole what is weak to this or that? And I thought, yeah, you know what? No, I can just level up. I can just keep focusing on my starter creature and go from there. So anyway, let's get back to the select few times where you are forced to use things. I think at one point, it might even be the Donor Island tower situation where you have to go and catch an electric monster because you need to fight these, I forget what they are, the machines though. You have to essentially attack it with lightning so that it builds a charge and you power up the device or whatever it was. So obviously you're forced. There's nothing you can do about that. The other situation is the time where the Light Sensei has his challenge where you can't use any of your monsters. You have to go and catch 3 brand new monsters with the spinners he provides and then use those. So that's another time where it's excused using other monsters because you can't do anything but that. The second last fight, I think the final, no, not the final Titan, the second last Titan, I think the ice one, that one was also tricky. So, and this is one of those kind of exception sort of things. I did do all of the attacking with my starter, but for those who know the fight, after about half health, when the boss freezes your entire party, what I was noticing, I went up against it multiple times to experiment a little bit, but what I was noticing is that he does the iceberg sweep, which removes whatever is out from the battle entirely. And I leveled up all the way to level 99, and I still wasn't strong enough to defeat him before he would do this attack. And so I even experimented with bringing out like another creature just to see if he would remove that one. Sometimes he would, other times he would wait until I bring back my starter, and then, oh wow, how convenient, he just like sweeps that guy away. So the workaround I did for that is, after he froze my whole party, I would swap to a different monster, use that time, I wouldn't attack, but I would use that time to unthaw, or to thaw my starter creature, and use a potion, and then I would bring him back, and the time that I did bang it out, it just happened to not do that sweep attack again, so I was actually able to knock him completely out. So that was the only time where I switched to a different creature just for the sake of not having the one I wanted to use removed from the battle completely. So all in all, it was a very interesting experience doing this. I have never once before thought about or attempted to tackle doing a whole monster taming game with a single creature. It's pretty amazing, to be honest, because normally you're playing things and there will be like, there's so much reason to have a variety of monsters because you've got strengths, weaknesses to deal with. You have very powerful bosses that can sometimes wipe out your monster, and then you got to switch to the next one just to finish off the fight. But I was just determined to, like, when I got to a certain point, I was just determined to beat the whole thing with my starter creature. And it was definitely a very fascinating experience. In ways, I think, I wouldn't say that this reveals an imbalance, because I think monster taming games are great when you can kind of apply your own ideas and your own approach to the game. I went into this thinking like, yeah, I want to soak up the adventure. I just want to enjoy, actually take my time to experience everything, because it was very different in Monster Crown. While I did like it, I felt it lacked polish in a lot of different areas. I can save that for another video. But whereas with Coromon, it was the complete opposite. Like, everything just looked amazing. The mechanics were engaging. The monster designs were over the top, incredible compared to anything I've ever seen in Pokemon and most other games. And it was just right up my alley. The music was fantastic. It was just an awesome time. So it was really neat. I'm really, really stoked to have done this. I'm not sure if anyone else has ever attempted this sort of thing with Coromon, let alone other games. Like, when I think about Monster Sanctuary, like, there's no way Like, I would be amazed if it was physically possible to go through that game with just a single monster. I don't think you can do that. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of just what I did, how I got onto that kind of path with Coromon, and what I think of the game in general. I just, it's such a thrilling experience. But yeah, anyway, that's more or less what I want to share. I don't think I really have too much more to say on the matter. So yeah, let me know what you think below if you've played this game, what your monster preferences were. I think I like the idea of using monsters, but like I said, I just didn't want to put the time and energy into needing to train up all these monsters that were many levels before. And interestingly enough, it got to, like, because I was only focusing on one creature, it got to the point where, other than creatures like you're seeing on the screen right now, the Cry Beast, pretty much every single monster I came across was just, oh, I can either use my Crunch or my Water Blast Bubble, whatever it is, and it would one-shot everything, except for the odd time where I'm up against something that's strong against me. And I'm pretty sure Ice is just naturally stronger against water in Coromon. So yeah, it made sense. It felt like an efficient approach. It felt super, super streamlined, and it was just a blast. Once I had that thought in mind, just being like, yeah, you know what, I'm committing to this, I'm going to do it. And like, I'm just going to find ways to overcome whatever challenges, no matter how hard the bosses are, what tricks they have. And there were some certainly tricky situations, but yeah, I just had a blast. So anyway, that's all I'm going to babble about with this. I really enjoyed this game. It's easily the best top-down Monster Tamer style game that I've seen in ages, and I'm stoked. This and Monster Sanctuary are just the best in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, thanks so much for checking this out. You have an awesome day, everybody, and we will see you next time.